Depositors in Guizhou, China, unable to withdraw their savings, vented their anger by smashing up a bank branch. As a series of banking crises unfold across the country, leading to frequent clashes during protests. As China's economy continues its downward trajectory, various industries are facing crises, and even the banking sector has not been spared. In recent years, there have been increasing incidents of depositors unable to withdraw their savings, leading to various conflicts. On January 16th, a netizen posted on the social media platform revealing that depositors at the Guizhou store of the Guizhou Rural Consumer Cooperative had vandalized the branch due to their inability to withdraw funds. The video showed a chaotic scene inside the branch with rows of chairs knocked over and potted plants scattered on the floor. A depositor, who wished to remain anonymous, told mainland media that people chose to deposit their money at the Guizhou Rural Consumer Cooperative because of its higher interest rates and the belief that it was backed by a state-owned enterprise and therefore reliable. Now, with the cooperative in trouble, depositors worry about losing their savings and often visit various branches to withdraw their funds, usually without success, leading to frequent conflicts. According to a report by Guizhou, journalists learned through phone calls that branches had indeed been vandalized recently, and economic crime investigation teams have been assigned to investigate. The cooperative is currently facing a cash shortage and requires depositors to wait for withdrawals, with similar situations reported at various branches. On January 17th, a business owner near the Guizhou store of the Guizhou Rural Consumer Cooperative told Da Wansui News that he had deposited several thousand yuan in the cooperative and had been unable to withdraw it for months. He mentioned that his deposit was relatively small compared to others who had deposited tens or even hundreds of thousands. Another nearby business owner said that he had deposited 2,000 yuan of his child's red pocket money, but has been unable to withdraw it since last October. Such withholding of funds is causing public discontent, and people will continue to demand their rights. January 2024 has not yet ended, and numerous similar incidents have already occurred. On January 18th, a video on the platform X showed that customers at the Agricultural Bank of China in Shahe City, Xingtai, Hebei Province, couldn't withdraw their funds. When they went to the bank branch to appeal, the bank's management and security staff kept them outside. Look at the Agricultural Bank of China, Shahe branch. They're making elderly people stand outside, not letting them in. It's so unfair. They're over 70 years old, and they're just being blocked at the door by security. They've all come to appeal, having lost a principal of 60,000 yuan. How can they treat people like this? And no one's doing anything about it? Who gave this bank the right to do this? Was it the city government? A loss of 60,000 yuan.
In Shahe City's agricultural bank, near the train station, they're not letting people in. Is anyone going to do something about this?
Everyone, come and see. They're not letting anybody in.
So many people, and none of them are allowed in.
Look how aggressive they are. The attitude is so fierce. As the bank manager said, if one more person gets in, the security doesn't need to come back to work tomorrow. Comments on the video indicated concerns that even major banks are starting to report robbing Peter to pay Paul, suggesting an impending widespread banking crisis in China. Some commenters speculated that this could lead to a complete collapse of China's economy and even an early collapse of the CCP. On January 13th, over 100 depositors of rural banks in Henan traveled to Xuchang to demand their deposits. Henan police, under the pretext of conducting anti-terrorism drills, intercepted these depositors at Xuchang Station and detained them in a hotel, resulting in injuries to many. All depositors were eventually deported from the local area. According to Wei Quanwang, a Chinese rights protection website, over 1,000 holders of UnionPay and secondary card holders from Henan's village and town banks have been unable to access their savings for nearly 700 days, leading to extreme hardship. These depositors are under close surveillance, including tracking of their phones and private vehicles. They are intercepted while using public transport, monitored by public security and government officials using high-tech means, and subjected to illegal restrictions, intimidation, and detention. Despite their repeated appeal efforts, they still face severe suppression. On January 9, 2024, the Henan government launched a WeChat mini program encouraging depositors to admit to participating in illegal fundraising, investment activities. The government can modify the content at any time without notifying depositors, denying them any rights. However, these depositors are not associated with the alleged criminal shareholding groups mentioned by officials. Lawyers and prosecutors believe the root problem lies in the bank's illegal lending. The government is trying to shift blame and cover up deceit, while depositors who sign are labeled as participants in fraudulent fundraising, with their account savings seized. As a result, over 100 depositors chose to travel to Xuchang by train on January 13 to inquire about the situation. Upon their arrival, they were immediately controlled. A man going by the pseudonym Mr. Xiao is a depositor of the Henan village and town banks. He's said to oversee Chinese media. During this process, police officers wearing black clothes and smiley face masks lifted a depositor off the platform, causing injuries to his waist and fractures. The injured person was taken to Wuchang Hospital for a CT scan, but was taken back home before the results came out. Xiao continued, the black-clad individuals detained all depositors in a Xuchang hotel, confiscating their phones. They were separated into pairs and guarded by 4 to 6 police officers per hotel room. Female depositors were forcibly searched by male officers, leading to physical altercations and injuries. The Xuchang Intermediate Court's Yuan Xiaogang and staff read a statement informing depositors that if they did not register their deposit information, it would be confiscated into the state treasury. The court did not provide any written material to the depositors. Under threats and inducements from the court staff, depositors who admitted to participating in illegal fundraising were offered some financial compensation. Some were beaten and, under unbearable pressure, admitted to a crime that they did not commit. According to a netizen's revelation, on January 19th on Platform X, during their hotel detention, a 60-year-old female depositor wanted to bathe, but the police refused to leave the room, forcing her to undress in front of male officers. The netizen also mentioned that on October 21, 2023, police in Yongcheng, Shangqiu of Henan Province suspected a female depositor of hiding a phone in her undergarments. They forcibly stripped and photographed her, causing distress to her children who learned about it through a live broadcast.
This shouldn't be happening. You Henan people think you're so much better than others? Why don't you photograph your mothers or daughters? When talking about judicial darkness, us in Hunan province ranks first. But even so, we wouldn't go to the extent of taking nude photos of a lady just for a 3,000 yuan police salary. I take responsibility for what I say today. I ask these devils in Hunan, do you dare to take responsibility for your actions? Why did you take photos? Just for suspecting the depositors of hiding phones and wanted to strip them to check?
Many people expressed their anger, saying, we all have families with elders. Imagine if your mother were subjected to such humiliation. Another commented, it's been over 100 years, and the CCP is still acting like bandits. Henan has once again refreshed humanity's new low. Starting April 18, 2022, numerous village and town banks in Henan Province, China, faced a financial crisis and abruptly shut down online withdrawal and transfer services, leaving depositors unable to access their funds. This banking scandal sparked widespread panic and anger among depositors who began appeals and protest activities. Their efforts to recover deposits have continued for over a year, facing repeated suppression and crackdowns by the Chinese government. On November 26, 2023, depositors of the Henan village and town banks once again traveled to Henan to demand their deposits. They were intercepted and scattered by the police along the way. Eventually, the remaining depositors had no choice but to protest at the Nanyang Xinye Rural Commercial Bank, which, like the village and town banks, is under the jurisdiction of Henan Province United Society. Subsequently, they were all arrested and detained illegally. Following the widespread attention to the Henan village and town bank incident, it was discovered that difficulties in withdrawing funds were not limited to Henan but existed in other provinces and cities across China. For instance, Huaxia Daily reported in July 2022 that a depositor from Shanxi with an account at the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China in Hainan found their account frozen, preventing withdrawals, transfers, and transactions. Another depositor from Hunan also reported that their card was frozen after taking out a loan from a bank, leading to multiple trips between Hunan and Hainan. Another Chinese media outlet, Securities Daily, reported similar incidents in Beijing, Shandong, and other places. The report also mentioned that major banks were intensifying the monitoring of bank accounts. Accounts with large cash transactions, low balances, and out-of-town card usage, frequent transactions, or incomplete information could be targeted for freezing. The whole fiasco is causing unease among the people. In July 2023, Radio Free Asia found that branches of the Bank of China, Construction Bank, and Industrial and Commercial Bank of China in Shenzhen were crowded, and the withdrawal process was exceedingly difficult. In order to withdraw 60,000 yuan, a Hong Kong resident had to queue for hours just to get in the bank's front door, followed by further waiting for them to call out his number. However, at both regular and VIP counters, there was only one staff member handling cash transactions, leading to an additional wait of 1 to 2 hours. Even at the counter, staff would repeatedly inquire about the reasons for withdrawal, check multiple documents, require multiple signatures and password inputs, with the entire process taking up to about 5 hours. For large withdrawals at mainland Chinese banks, the process is even more prolonged. Radio Free Asia found that the Bank of China now requires at least a one-day advance appointment for withdrawals over 200,000 yuan. Different branches have varying requirements, with some even requiring personal appointments for withdrawals over 20,000 yuan to be made on specific days. Economist Luo Chiazong analyzed in a YouTube program that the similar issues across multiple banks in China reflect a problem not with a single bank, but with the entire Chinese banking system. He questioned whether the banks are insolvent, saying, "When you go to the counter to withdraw money and face so many obstacles, needing to make appointments and wait, it might be that the bank doesn't have the money at that moment." Under the CCP's rule, the chaos in Chinese society is rampant, with depositors struggling to withdraw their savings from banks. Banks always find reasons to deny depositors access to their funds, citing various shocking excuses. In one video, Ms. Zhi deposited 2.1 million yuan in a bank, but when her mother urgently needed surgery in the ICU, she couldn't withdraw the money. The bank claimed her account was empty, which shocked her, as she had deposited 2.1 million yuan for emergencies. She asked the counter staff to double-check, suspecting a system error, but they insisted that the system was error-free, and her account indeed had no money. They then tried to usher her out of the bank. After confirming at home that no one had withdrawn the money and that only she and her mother knew the card's PIN, Ms. Zhi returned to the bank for an explanation. It was eventually discovered that a manager at the bank had illegally transferred her 2.1 million yuan for a loan. The bank's position was that it was an employee's personal act and beyond their control, advising her to pursue legal action if she had any claims. Shockingly, people's own money deposited in banks disappear, and the bank shirk responsibility. Such incidents are indeed happening in China. People have expressed their anger, condemning the appalling nature of these events, highlighting the risk now associated with depositing money. They question if there are any reliable banks left, and are seeking recommendations for safer banking options to avoid such pitfalls. In another shocking incident, a man in Liaoning's Shenyang city found his 140,000 yuan deposit at the Agricultural Bank of China converted into insurance, making it inaccessible, and he was directed to negotiate with the insurance company. In yet another video, an elderly woman in her 90s discovered that her hard-earned 590,000 yuan savings had been frozen by the bank and could not be withdrawn. The bank even claimed the money couldn't be proven to be hers, despite it being her and her late husband's savings, including compensation from her son's fatal car accident. The bank's refusal to release her funds left her in tears in the bank lobby. Netizens reacted with outrage, condemning the bank for its ruthless behavior. Depositing money is easy, but withdrawing it is challenging in China's banks, with reasons for refusal becoming increasingly absurd. According to a report by Quai Information on January 19, 2023, at the end of the year, a woman named Ms. Chen in Wuhan could not access her father's deposit of 390 yuan after his sudden death. The bank staff told her she needed legal proof of being an heir to withdraw the money. While Chen understood the need for this proof, given the significant amount involved, she was astonished by the additional requirements, proof of her parents' marriage, and even proof of her grandparents' relationship with her father. As her grandparents had passed away years ago and their records were lost due to relocation and a lack of digital archiving, she couldn't provide her household registration certificates. Without that, she could not reapply for copies of the death certificates. Consequently, her father's 390,000 yuan remains inaccessible in the bank. Despite spending over a month and visiting many places, Chen was unable to withdraw the money and turned to social media for help. Quai Information explained that banks require these proofs to avoid getting entangled in inheritance disputes, so such verifications are legally reasonable. Yet, when viewed from a compassionate standpoint, these demands appear excessively harsh and inflexible. Consequently, a lawyer in the relevant field suggested Chen sue the bank for a deposit dispute. Regarding this incident, Chinese netizens shared their views. Such things happen every year. It's so scary that we're afraid to keep money in banks. What about the money we'll leave behind? Others sarcastically commented, "This is about deposits. If it were about debts, the situation would be different. For debts, just saying who you are is enough. The bank will find you without needing any proof." Addressing these chaotic situations, Li Hengqing, an economist at the American Institute for Information and Strategic Studies, analyzed in an interview with overseas Chinese media that China prioritizes power over law. He cited the example of Henan Rural Commercial Bank, which started as a joint stock bank, attracting savings through various means, including from other regions via means online. However, the major shareholders diverted the funds to real estate investments with local government support, violating commercial and legal regulations. Li questioned whether there was a solution to such problems, doubting the feasibility of a commercial resolution. He warned that if these banking crises aren't controlled, they could lead to severe social consequences, with small depositors losing their life savings. He said, when people are driven to desperation without any way out, what will they do? Li also pointed out that these issues arise from the government colluding with unscrupulous businessmen as their interests are intertwined. He described them as a criminal group, questioning the possibility of resolving such issues under these circumstances.